ladies and gentlemen, unless you're driving, and if you are, I suggest you pull over and show some respect and put your hands together for the one, the only, Maurice Edu, everybody!
Yo, 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 yo.
Mo, what is good?
I mean, first of all, what an intro. And let me take a step back for a second. You was trying to get me on the show. I've been sitting here like, yo, what's the deal? What do I have to do to get on this show? I'm watching all my boys. They're making appearances. I'm talking to them about it. I'm like, what do I got to do?
Yeah. I imagine there's like that.
What do we gotta do, right?
We'll keep going.
Good podcast, by the way. You gotta start that podcast.
Hey, that's a good shout. You know what? That's a good shout.
Or we could do much ado about nothing. All right, keep going. It doesn't.
It's never ending.
Anyway. I imagine like the maybe the retired player at MLS group chat is buzzing whenever they're like, yo, why is this dude on, and why is it Maurice hasn't been on the show yet? So I can imagine there's a lot of chatter about that.
I thought it was something that I did, that there might have been like a personal vendetta against me or something. But I see you guys with the jerseys, so I'm like, okay, we're on the same page.
Nothing but respect. Mo, honored to have you on the show. Like we said, absolutely huge fan, and there's so much. It's always fun to meet players that we like sort of that grew up watching and experience the U.S. men's national team or MLS at the same time. I know. So I want to get through. Let's get through some of the business stuff because you are covering Gold Cup. The U.S. has been playing. We've at the time we're recording this, the only game that has happened is the U.S. Haiti, but in that first match, what was your first impression? I know the roster is not the same as what was in Nations League. So what are the expectations so far, especially after seeing that first game?
Well, I mean, the expectations for this group, as you said, it's a different roster. Some players who don't have as much experience, some guys who are fighting to get into the first team, some guys who are fighting just to get into that mix, get into that conversation. So a lot of different moving parts. So when you take into account that context, they got the result, right? They win the game 1-0. Could it have been better? Of course. Are they going to get better? I think that's the hope, that they're going to mature. You might see some personnel changes. Haiti came out. They played a game where they weren't fearing this U.S. team. They pressured them and put them in difficult situations. And I think this group, that was a good first test for them. Was it the best performance? No. I don't think anyone left that game feeling like, wow, they just took over the game and dominated the way we expected. But like I said, they got the 3 points. They move on. They'll learn from that. And hopefully tournaments are about how you finish, right? You want to have a strong start. They got the 3 points, so that's a strong start in that regard. But ultimately, you want to see them mature and grow into and establish their own identity throughout the course of this tournament.
What do you see? Because obviously, when you play with the men's national team, I think it's probably best. Why don't we start with, what does it mean to win the Gold Cup? Because there's a lot of questions, especially now we just watched a really exciting Euros happen. This is our version. What does it mean for someone who played at that level? What does it mean to win the Gold Cup?
This is, as you just said, you watch the Euros, you watch Copa America, you watch all these different regional tournaments where teams are competing to be that dominant team in their region. And for us, this is what it is. So, it usually comes down to USA, Mexico. We have one up on them so far this summer, winning the Nations League tournament. This is a unique situation for this U.S. team because if they would go on to win the Gold Cup, this would be the first time, I think, ever that a U.S. team has won 2 tournaments in their region in the same summer. So they have a unique opportunity in front of them to really establish themselves as the dominant team in this region going into World Cup qualifying starting in the fall.
Okay. Yeah. That's why there's always that chatter of like, because the roster is not the strongest one, this is, the Gold Cup, does it really matter or whatever? But the dudes that are there really want to win it.
It's a trophy. No matter what, if there's a trophy in front of you, it doesn't matter who the roster is. It doesn't matter if it's your A, B, C, D, E, F. I don't care what team it is. You put 11 players on the pitch and there's a trophy in front of you and you're playing against teams in your region, ultimately trying to play against Mexico in the final. It doesn't really matter. You're going for that trophy.
I know what you mean, right? Because sometimes, I'll be at a restaurant, they'll be like, I want 20 wings. And they're like, yo, if you eat 50, you get a shirt. And I look at my wife, I got to get the trophy. You know what I mean?
Get that shirt.
Oh, okay.
I got to get this shirt.
You're out to test my strength. Okay.
Would you just call me? That's what I say to the waitress. The waiter. You know what I mean? Just to level it out.
I like that.
Okay. I want my Polaroid up on that wall. Okay.
And do we have an EMT on staff?
So, you mentioned mentioned Copa America. Obviously, that's been covered on Fox as well. The Messi finally doing it, winning an international trophy. I know. Look, this is the banter going between Stu and Hole and Lawless and everybody. And so Messi finally. Do you think this is? Can the chatter finally stop a little bit? Can he get some time to breathe now that he's won an international trophy at the senior level for Argentina?
I'll tell you what, I never cared about any of that noise, man. Like I used to go back and forth with all my boys about that conversation, and they're more just this era, right? So in their mind, it's just Messi versus Ronaldo. And, I think it was probably 60-40, where most of them were on my side saying that Messi's the GOAT. And then the other 40% is like, oh, well, he's never won. They don't even really know what's going on, but they just hear like, oh, he's never won internationally. So something must be wrong. So maybe for them, this kind of quiets that noise a little bit and it puts that to bed. For me, Messi's been the GOAT before he won this tournament. This is just that validation, I guess. And I think for him, right, you can choose your club team to a certain extent. When you're at a level like him, he can pick whatever club team he plays for, right? And he's had that success at club level. He's won all the Ballon d'Ors that you could possibly win, all the golden boots you could possibly win. But for him, there's something different about playing for your national team. There's a different level of pride. That's where you're born. That's where your family is. You just have a deep, deep tie, and it's a proud moment. So I think in his mind, he wanted that, right? I think when he looks back on his career, that probably will be the one. If he doesn't go on to win a World Cup, that'll probably be the one that really stands out to him because it's for his country. So I think for all those different reasons, it was great. And I think for all of us to witness history is a beautiful moment. But he was the GOAT before that. I don't really care. That conversation for me, he was the GOAT before, he's the GOAT now. And I was happy to see him get it done. That just added more
evidence for you. You
exactly.
were like, also this.
The CV just got longer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like, I can talk even more now.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a chance to play in Europe. Talk about that transition from going from Toronto FC to Rangers over in Scotland.
Yeah, it was different. It was something that I wanted to do. I'll tell you what, like when I first, Europe was always in my mind. I grew up watching Arsenal. I was an Arsenal fan. And that's why a lot of respect to you for repping that jersey right there. Yes, sir.
Forever, my guy.
And so like I grew up watching European football and I always had dreams to go there. I started my career in MLS, and I remember the very first conversation I had with my coach at the time, Mo Johnson. I remember I was in Toronto doing like some media stuff, and we were staying in the same hotel, and he calls me down. I'm like 20 at this time, 2021, I think 20. He's like, yo, come down to the bar. And I'm nervous. My first professional coach. Like, what's this conversation going to be like?
But you're like, it's Canada and I'm 20. I could drink here though.
See that? But
so maybe I won't be as nervous.
Maybe. But even then I'm like, but do I drink? This is my coach. Like, whatever. Anyway, the conversation was good because he just wanted to get to know me, wanted to know my aspirations, yada, yada, yada. And I told him straight up, like, look, I'm excited to be here in Toronto. I want to create some incredible memories, but ultimately I want to go to Europe. And he told me straight up, like, look, you give me a couple good years here. If a bid comes in for you, I won't stop you. He stayed true to his word. And so when I went to Europe, I was going, I was focused. I was hungry. I was looking forward to it. I knew Rangers was a big club. I knew there was going to be a lot of pressure. And one of my boys, Marcus Beasley, was there at the time too. So that helped, right? Like that became like my big, my older little brother, you know what I mean? But no, he helped me with that transition, kind of showed me the ropes on and off the pitch, helped that make it a little bit more of a comfortable setting. But it's the kind of environment you want to be in where people are just football mad. You walk down the street and you walk in that city pretty much, and half the city would like give you the shirt off their back. Come into my restaurant. Let me feed you. Let me take care of you. Let me look after you. Yeah. And then the other half of the city's trying to rip that shirt off your back, trying to steal that meal from you. You know what I mean? And they just live and breathe football. And so it was a beautiful environment. I got to experience playing in Champions League, playing in Europa League, winning trophies, winning cups, and just seeing what the European fan bases were like it was madness. And I loved every minute of it.
And you played, obviously, Rangers and Celtic, one of the biggest derbies in the world. One of our producers, Andrew Kastner, he was like, he's a huge Celtic guy. So he was like, yo, can you ask him about it?
Ask him about this goal, and then ask him about that. I'm like, we're not going into the weeds of the old firm for you.
But that matchup, we haven't spoken to too many people that it played in those games. What is
it insane as it looks?
What's your first memory when anybody asks you about the old firm?
I mean, well, my first memory is obviously going to be the goal I scored, right? Like to this day, I still get like crazy amounts of tweets and messages. And that's the beauty of sport, is that, you have those moments. Of course, it was a big goal for me in my career at that point in time and to this day. But like the fact that you create a moment in time, for different people, you create a moment. Like to this day, they'll tell me like, yo, I remember this goal because I was watching it at this place with these people and this happened.
Right.
I was drunk and I fell down a flight of stairs. Or I remember like whatever, they can retell exactly what happened in that moment for them. And so like, that's part of the beauty for me. The reaction from the crowd, like it was just mayhem. Just pandemonium in the stadium, everyone going crazy. It's like the 90th minute. I'm trying to sprint away from my teammates. I got no legs. I'm dead at that point. And I remember they tackled me, and like there's like that whole dog paw moment. And then we're walking back for kickoff, and I'm just looking around the stadium. And the goal that I scored, and that's Rangers fans, both sides Rangers fans. And then there's like as I'm walking back to kickoff, there's like a little strip on the side over there where the Celtic fans are. And so like as I'm just panning from side to side to side, and as I get there, it goes craziness, and then just silence.
Disappointment.
Silence, And I was like, yo, that's that moment right there. That's the one right
You
there.
caused that.
You caused exactly, that. Yeah.
That's wild.
It's like, I picture like a painting where it's like you see everything is like similar, and then there's like, well, what's that one thing right there? What does this mean?
What happened
What's
there?
happening there?
What just, it was like that. But to be honest with you, man, I like playing those games at home, and I like playing them away too.
Right.
Like there's something about, I don't know, there's something about just being in a stadium that's where you can just feel that energy, whether it's good or bad. Obviously you prefer it to be pro for you, you know what I mean? But like playing in a derby and like hearing them talking so much shit to you, and then like you score a goal or something, or your team goes ahead, and it's just like that quiet, that silence, that little, just, you can hear a pin drop, you know what I mean? Like those moments, and you can like silence the crowd for that brief moment in time. You can just look at them and shh. Hey.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I've never played professional, but I have walked into my in-laws' Thanksgiving, so I kind of feel like I know what it's like. When you go to something.
Oh, you're here.
Just looking around, and it's nothing but despair.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, you just mentioned like you able to quiet a crowd, and it makes me think of like the U.S. Mexico Christian Pulisic shushing the crowd, but they react a little bit different. They're not just exactly quiet when when
my
you tell
in-laws
them
never
to be
threw
quiet.
piss at me.
I'll tell you what, the quiet only lasts for a second, because as soon as you any kind of gesture, then it's like it's hyped right back. It just gets hyped right back up. That Christian moment though, that was crazy.
Legendary. That photo.
Crazy, yeah. Like
that's a big man moment for him.
Man, it's when you just like think back to the timeline of events that happened in that game. So much happened in that game, man. It was crazy. It was just madness.
Yeah.
But that was a big moment for that group.
It's been an emotional roller coaster for soccer these last couple months. I feel like every week I'm like, I don't know if my blood pressure can handle all this.
I know mine can't. I'm sitting in a kiddie pool, a water kiddie pool, to watch soccer. This is too much.
I'm like, yo, I gotta schedule therapy sessions after watching a soccer game. The Euros, I mean, absolute madness. Those penalties, England, Italy, congratulations, Italy. I mean, and look, we'll get to the negativity of the aftermath of that, but just the penalties themselves. Why? Who should have taken them? Should Saka have been there? Obviously, you're an Arsenal supporter. Should Saka have been that last penalty taker, in your opinion?
It's a weird thing, right? Because I think a lot of people were saying they would have rather seen experienced guys step up and take a penalty kick in that moment. And it's such a hard decision to make, right? If I'm a coach and a player says to me, I want to take this penalty kick, I'm going to let him take the penalty kick. Like, I'm trusting that he's confident in that moment. He's feeling good in that moment that he's going to take it. And penalty kicks are it's a tough situation, right? Like, there's obviously a little bit of luck that goes into it. You can pick a corner and hit it as well as you can. If the keeper guesses right, it's, so it's just one of those things. There is a skill to it, but there also is an element of luck to it as well. I've been on both sides of the coin where I've made penalty kicks, I've missed penalty kicks in shootouts as well. And, it's a really difficult situation. I'm more frustrated, like probably you guys are as well, with the aftermath, right? And it sucks because the craziest part is, as I'm watching the penalty kicks, I see Rashford take his, he misses. I'm like, okay, whatever. Sancho's next, and I'm like, I'm seeing a trend now. I'm like, oh shit, this like, instead of my mind being focused on sport, my mind is shifted towards what could potentially happen. Not even potentially, what's going to happen if he doesn't make it. He misses. I'm starting to sweat a little bit, like, because it's starting to get a little bit more real. And then, as you just said, Saka steps up next, and then immediately at that point, you know what's coming next, which is like, that's the frustrating part. That's the sad part. Obviously, you feel for the team losing, but in my mind, I just knew straight away what was going to happen from Twitter and the reaction from all social media and all that kind of stuff. You just knew all the racists were going to come out the woodwork, and they now had a scapegoat. They now had a person to point the finger of blame at. And it's just crazy to me. Like, that's the scary part. And like the damning part about this sport. These guys, you think they intentionally missed these penalty kicks? You think that they didn't want to win? You think that they weren't confident stepping up to take these penalty kicks? And it's just like, that's where I get pissed off about things,
Yeah. I mean,
and I think it's smart to remember that racists are stupid, right? Because there's even someone on Twitter was yelling at Raheem Sterling for missing a penalty kick, and I'm like, you ain't even paying attention,
right?
Like, you ain't even
your racism is at a new level where
you just looking at anybody, anyone could get it at that point. Like,
he mad at how Samuel Eto'o played for England. You know what I mean,
bro?
Yeah,
he's mad Balotelli won. That's where he's at.
JJ Culture never scored for England.
It's something that I think, especially after Rashford missed and you started, this is, if it's on our minds as the viewers, I'm like, yo, this has to be on their minds as the penalty takers as well. It's like super frustrating to be the hero or be the villain in your own country based on
19.
Yeah,
at 19.
So, Mike, I'm curious about you. Maybe your experience in Europe as well. Like, was that a thing that you had to be mindful of, that you had to deal with, depending on performances or whatever? Like, being a black player in the UK and just trying to be a professional. How much of has it improved? Is it a thing that you still think about, or that you had to deal with?
I mean, I definitely experienced it. I experienced it on a few different occasions. I remember when I first signed there, like, me and Bees would joke if we were in the city and we saw like a black person, we'd like, is that your friend? Is that my friend? Because we just didn't see that many. But I definitely, I think in the beginning I would ignore it. On social media it would come, of course, everyone suddenly has a voice on social media. You might walk by them on the street and they might whisper something to a friend. There's not as many people who are going to be as outward and, vocal when they see you in person. But on Twitter, on social media, everyone's powerful there. Everyone could say anything at that point in time. And me and a couple of my teammates used to get quite a bit of racial slurs thrown at us on Twitter. Good game, bad game, didn't really matter. And at first I was just whatever. I don't care. I'm past that noise. Unfortunately, that's where my mindset was at, is like, you kind of grow up and you're trained to like look past it. You're bigger than that, be bigger than that. But why do I gotta be the bigger person in this scenario? Why don't they become the bigger person? Like, why should I have to like suppress how I actually feel about it? Why is it that if I speak out, I'm suddenly the bad person for not rising above it, or looking past the severity of the situation? And so, it finally got to a point where I started retweeting. I would retweet stuff or I would respond. And, I don't know if it's even fortunate, but it got to a point where I actually had to go to court. Somebody tweeted something at me and one of my teammates. We screenshot it, showed it to our team when we were at Rangers, and the police got involved. I don't know if they tracked him through his IP address. Somehow they tracked down the person, went to his house. This man, this is how these people's minds work, right? So they track him down, go to his house to arrest him. This guy starts trying to blame it on his son, saying like, "Oh, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was my young son," and this and that. Long story short,
he's like, "Take him." Yeah.
Bro, right?
I imagine like a toddler just like playing on a speaking spell. And
yeah.
like,
just putting cuffs on him.
Get him. He's dangerous. But the crazy part is, like, so they arrest him. They finally do arrest him, and then we had to go to court and like actually see this man face to face and confirm the tweets were sent to us and all that kind of stuff. So I say all that to say that there's more that can be done, right? Mm-hmm. There's more that can be done if people are taking it as serious as they say they're taking it, right? Like all these different campaigns, kick racism out of football, X, Y, and Z, this and that. Obviously, it's not enough. You know, you maybe find this team $50,000, $100,000, or they don't have fans for one game or something like that. Whatever. Like, we're clearly at a point where these things are not harsh enough and not extreme enough. They're not moving the needle in a direction that it needs to be moved. So I think the people who are in these positions of power, they have to, if it takes going, I don't know, in an extreme direction to really try to eradicate racism from the sport, eventually getting to just society in general, more has to be done. More definitely has to be done, and there is more that can be done.
Mo, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's just we could talk to you. We have to get you back because there's too much to discuss. Yeah. But we
didn't even talk about the Arsenal photo that got you hated at Stoke. There's so much.
We got to talk about the Slovenia goal.
Your movie that you're producing.
You got a movie coming out. But please, at least let's plug that. Maybe that could be the first thing. Is there anything you want to let people know about before we let you go?
Yeah, no. The movie, that's something I'm really excited about. It's about the Howard soccer team back in the 1970s, and it's a powerful story. I mean, obviously, the surface level is, the team won the championship, had their title stripped away from them. This is back in 1970s. I'm talking. So you're talking about where racism. We're talking about racism now. Racism then is crazy, right? So they overcome that. They win the title back, but there's even more to the story. There's just conversations of the way that these guys had to overcome adversity in so many different shapes and sizes and from so many different directions. Conversations about what it means to be Black. And it's an incredible story. I'm very fortunate. Me and my boys, Bees and Gooch, Charlie, Josie are all part of it. We had the opportunity to partner up with Peter Lawson, and Commons involved with it as well. So we're really looking forward to bringing this story to life and sharing it with you guys. It's gonna be dope, man.
All right,
I can't wait to see it.
Excited to see it. Yeah, I mean, when things get further down the line, you want to have comment on the show, feel free to do that too. No, I'm not stopping you. All good. So, Mo, we have a couple other things we need to do. We got to get to the Golazo gift. That is your opportunity to make a GIF of yourself celebrating a goal on our show. Alexis will give you a scenario. You can celebrate it however you like, and it will live on the internet forever as a GIF. So, Alexis, what do you got for him?
So, you pull up to the Ibrox, you're just hanging out, you're in the owner's box, you're doing your thing, and for some reason they need you, and this is really just to upset my producer, by the way, they need you to come, it's an old firm, and for some reason, they call on you to come down and play one last match for Rangers. And in the 90th minute, you come in off a corner, classic Maurice Edu header, hits the back of the net. You with the old firm for Rangers. Steven Gerrard's freaking out. The whole place is going nuts. And the only person you see in the audience is our producer, Andrew Kastner, who's really sad. How would you celebrate this goal?
Oh, man. Okay. All right. I might blow him a kiss. I might, so I'll probably start with that little,
Okay. Yeah.
Start with that, then make sure I'm looking good for the camera, going for the camera. And then I might, what's the last part? So, okay, start with a kiss, because that's just like a little insult. Like just,
Right?
Yeah.
a grown man blowing you a kiss after you just scored against his favorite team,
That's
like
for
that's
you.
disrespectful. Take that. Clean myself off, make sure I'm looking good, going to the camera. And then what's the last part to this? What's the icing on the cake here?
You
The last
pose,
part.
you
Or I might,
flex
you know what?
on them.
Shirt coming off, flex.
Yeah. Okay. I love it.
You giving them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Hold that.
Snack. Enjoy it. Full course meal right there.
Amazing. He's like, man, I'm going home full.
Damn.
You gotta eat.
Can I get a takeaway bag for this?
You gotta eat. You know
lot.
what I mean?
Mo, thank you so much for joining us, man. Everybody, make sure you follow Maurice Edu on all socials. It's at Maurice Edu on everything, I believe.
Yep.
Just absolute legend. Catch him on Atlanta United broadcast and on Fox Soccer throughout all these Gold Cup matches. Make sure you follow us at Soccer Cooligans on all social platforms and at Fubo Sports on all socials, and subscribe to the Fubo Sports YouTube channel for more clips and full episodes of the show. All right, let us end the show the way we normally do, as is tradition. So Mo Edu will be honored if you could join us in this. So for Maurice Edu, my name is Christian Polanco.
I'm Alexis Guerreros.
And together, what are we?
No,